My name is Anka Eisele, and I will be the host and the moderator of today. I'm a mechanical engineer working for a company called John Deere, doing agricultural products most of the time. And I'm also very much involved with the Society of Women Engineers for the last 17, 18 years since I learned that such an organization exists, and I remain a fan of it. I'm located in Mannheim, Germany. And today, though, I will facilitate this meeting from a hotel room in United States. So this is why the lights are not quite good, but hopefully we will get through. However, I'm very excited to moderate this SWE Europe inspirational session. And I would like to introduce you today and welcome an accomplished leader in STEM, Dr. Aybike Molbay. She is the General Manager of the Turkiye Technology Center at GE Aerospace. And somebody will place probably a link into the chat where we can learn more about her background. And I have been very, very impressed to see what for a career path she had, and also how she navigated culture and professions and genders and all these other things, so that she turned out to be the wonderful person we have with us today. So welcome, Aybike.
Thank you very much for the great introduction, Anka. And I apologize for the background myself as well, because I'm in a hotel room in the United States still this morning. So this is the best I could get.
Yeah. So this inspirational session normally are happening that we have an interview for about 30 minutes. During this time, please feel free to share your questions and comments in the chat. We will come back to them. Then we will have a live Q&A to address your questions and remarks. And then there will be some breakout rooms and in smaller groups, and then we will come together again and wrap up for the day. So Aybike, welcome and thank you for joining us today and waking up in the morning. And I would like to start with the first question: is what inspired you to follow a STEM career? What drove you to say, yes, I want to go to the moon?
Well, I think that's probably a common answer to a lot of people. I haven't really thought of it that way when it was happening, but I think it's pretty much my dad. He was a mechanical engineer, but really one of those, engineer stereotypes. He really loved being an engineer, and you would see that, every instant in his life. Like, he would work on things at home, he would fix things, he would make things, and he had a company where he was also very much involved in, doing things, bringing, what is new to what he was doing in his job. And I think, admired his way of looking at things. So I never really thought of being anything else but an engineer. I just kind of had to decide engineer of what, which I said, well, I love airplanes. So, I want to be an aeronautical engineer, but being an engineer has never been really a question for me.
Right. So, from your name, we are talking about stereotypes. Yeah, even when I read the name, I have automatically the drawer. Oh, that person is in this box. And so your name it shows that you are coming from Turkey, like it's also mentioned. And I know I'm originally also from Romania, also the east part of Europe. Where we do have different type of cultural understanding, and when we start our career path, right, we do have some challenges, but still there is something what we do not even see them as challenges. Something that this is what we want to just do it, right? So, and my question will be, what was your driver in your professional life on one hand, and the other one is also how in your personal life, right? Because you also had a mother and a father and friends and and then moved on in your life. What were the drivers to say, but I still do it?
For professional life, personal life, it's very different drivers. I think for the professional life, with every job, the outcome is something different. Like, I did a lot of sales before engineering, so what I would get done there versus what I do now is very different. But I think at the bottom, what I'm realizing more and more is I enjoy really like seeing around the corner and looking a little more like at the bigger picture. And I feel really good if I feel like I was able to, you know, change the course of things, like steer things in a way I felt would be better, for the people and for the company. Um, and prevent problems before they happen. If I feel like I was able to, you know, prevent something from even happening, which I think is very important when you work with customers. I mean, when you work with customers, solving a problem is far, far, far more difficult and has remaining negative impacts than preventing the problem. So I think my motivation is like, can I foresee what's going to happen and really work towards, preventing them, or see something that can be really good and work with people to steer things into that direction. I mean, it takes time when you do it. Like that's what motivates me. It takes an effort and time. But when I see things happening the way I was hoping they would happen, when I look back, and of course it naturally happens with people, I really get excited that I did have a positive influence on something that's going to be actually helping out for the future. Because when you do it that way, I think it becomes more sustainable. I think that's kind of what keeps me going at work. And one thing that's really great for me right now is I get to work with a really great team in Istanbul in engineering. And that team continues to learn and grow, and they continue to become bigger leaders every day. And it is just a joy for me to kind of like watch them grow, and hopefully I have something to do with it. Personal life, I mean, I have two kids. I mean, they're not kids anymore. They are grown-ups. I mean, my daughter is 25. She's a lawyer, and my son is 21. He's in medical school. But I guess just like with all moms, they are like, up there in terms of my priorities and, what matters. And then lots of other things, but nothing gets close. And I'll just admit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that some years ago, SWE, that the SWE years, they always have a motto, right? How the president of the organization then decide this is what she wants to focus on that year. And I remember some years ago, there was the topic of being a change agent. And somehow I was very impressed about this topic of being a change agent. Like you said, you like to change things. So look around the corner, preventing and see the problems before they arise. I think that that's very interesting perspective and driver in life. I do agree with you. Yeah. But if we change a little bit the perspective, what's through you, but also sometimes you have to make choices. I mean, I'm sure that your day has, like mine, just 24 hours. We cannot do more than that. Yeah. So you have to pick and choose what you want to focus. And the question will be, can you tell us some examples of some choices you have made in life as you progress in your career or in your personal time, such as taking a new role or developing a new skill or a career path?
So I think this one, I mean, because I have been working all my life, right? I mean, after university, I immediately started working, and except like breaks, maternity breaks, I always worked. So for me, work and personal life are very entangled, right? One choice always directly affects the other. So it's very difficult for me to have a clear separation between, what I choose for personal life, what I choose for business life. It's, it all goes together over through life. But I think one thing that really kind of had a big influence on both is I did want to have a career. I love professional life. I love working. I mean, I always felt like I would be I wouldn't be a happy person if I didn't work. right? Because sometimes when you're a woman and you have kids, you question, am I really doing the right thing by working and, somebody else is taking care of my children? So there's always this
Yeah.
kind of like guilty dilemma, right?
Yeah.
But my answer always been no. I mean, I would have been very unhappy, and I don't think my kids want an unhappy mother. But having said that, I also chose what I did kind of with limitations of wanting to have a stable life for my children. So I lived in Ankara for a long time. Now I'm in Istanbul, but I had my kids in Ankara, and I worked in Ankara for the longer time of my career. And we had a good infrastructure for the kids there. My family. I mean, we had people who were very much helping as they were young. So I kind of decided, or it was natural really, that I would do jobs that I can do out of Ankara, which was really accepting that I will not go 100% career, right? I mean, I will miss opportunities that probably could have taken me higher, faster, whatever it is in the career if I were to take roles in other locations. But I felt very comfortable with saying no. I mean, I'm going to stick with whatever I can do here in this city and balance really how, what the life of my kids will look like and how much I can, be there with them, but still have a career that I'm happy with, jobs that I like doing. That was a very early but important choice, if you will, that I never regretted, to be honest.
Yeah. I would like to add to this your comments. I have been a supporter of the SWE affiliates from the Koç University in Istanbul.
Okay.
And I will never forget that one professor, she held a speech, and then she got also the question, yes, but as a mother and children, and you do not know, they are babies, stay at home. And and I found so fascinating her advice when she said, well, you can choose to stay at home when the children are still babies and very small, right? But think about it when they are in a teenager age. Will they say, oh, I'm so happy that my mother gave up her career so that she was with me as a baby? Or he or she will say, look, I'm so proud that my mother is an engineer and I can build up on it and go from there. So I found it so interesting to put it in a perspective, right?
You're right. But I think it's also important to accept that you do. I mean, I did feel guilty when they were really young, and several of the other mothers, they were far more available than I was. Like, they were at the school very frequently, where I could only go like once in a while and things like that. So I did feel the guilt. But having said that, I still believe I did the right thing.
Of course. Yeah. I will tell you a secret. In Germany, there is a word for this type of mothers. They call Rabenmutter. Are these birds, raven, who are just making the children, they don't take care of them, right? That's also interesting most recently because a colleague of ours, he stayed home in Germany. You can also, as a male, stay in parental leave. And then he said, oh, can you imagine? Yeah, I feel like a Raben father. Yeah, because he's also trying to balance work and it's better.
Well, that's actually that is changing as well, which is a very good thing.
Yeah. So I found it interesting. But then also you refer that your family helps you, and I do strongly believe that it's not only the responsibility of the mother to take care of children, right? It's also the partner, the family, the neighbors. It takes a village. Yeah, it's not a matter for one person.
Yes.
Yeah. And if we look at the personal life, what for skills do you think? So you said that you have felt a little bit guilty of not taking care of the children like other mothers who were present there 24 hours a day. But what for skills did you have to develop on yourself, what of your personal growth to say, I can deal with it as it is?
I mean, honestly, it took me a little bit of time, but I I figured out I have to put boundaries, right? I mean, one, the company, things don't necessarily crash when you took a little bit of time, or you took a few hours, or you miss a few meetings, right? I mean, it's, it's all about planning. So for a very long time, one, I vigorously defended my weekends, right? I mean, I really, unless there was like a huge problem, I didn't open up my computer. I didn't make phone calls over the weekends. Weekends are weekends. And in the evenings, for the longest time, I blocked my calendar. And obviously, right now, whatever is not in the calendar doesn't exist, in our environment. So I put meetings from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. every weekday. And so it was like my time at home. I wouldn't make phone calls. I wouldn't open up the computer. But when kids go to bed, then I would, if I needed to, I would have a little bit of like a second shift after that. But it didn't bother me as long as I was able to really manage. And I think I've been fortunate that in my work environment, the managers that I had, they did understand and they did respect that I had to, set aside certain times so that I could really spend good time with the kids. So those were simple, but they worked really well, to be honest. What was more difficult is the traveling piece. Again, I was in sales when my kids were young, which required some traveling, both short distance, but also, to the US. Where, unfortunately, there is no great solution. I mean, it wasn't about, who would take care of the kids. I mean, their dad did a great job, family. It wasn't about, physically what's going to happen to them. It's more about, being far, being away from them, like a whole week and missing. But I think it's important. Can you like switch on and off, the work in your mind when you are with the kids. I think I learned how to do that, which was very helpful.
Our in Jadir, we have now also a vice president, and she leads the entire Region 2 market, and she came from United States to Germany. She relocated, and she said, like you, that the personal time is very important. She has also a daughter and a husband, and she tries from traveling there to say, look, but I don't know how many weekends in a month she wants to be with her family. Period.
Exactly. Yes.
So it's like you said, there's a good advice to say you need to have some boundaries and see how you can navigate the rest of the workout, but fall in place. And what I also like is that you mentioned that also the colleagues and the managers should have understanding for it and support you. And I remember I worked with a family who had 2 children once when I was in Germany, and then when I was in the United States. This just happened by chance. And while we are in Germany, they will go to kindergarten or to school events. The both parents, they are double tiers, so to speak, both of them, they would work, but they will take time to go both parents to certain events. And then I noticed that in Germany, who was at that time was more conservative, it was, well, why did they have to go during the working time? The work colleagues will say in this question, right? And then I noticed when I was in the United States that the colleagues will say, oh, how nice of them. And then I reflected that the manager can encourage as much as he wants or she wants the flexible work, but if your colleagues don't have this understanding, then it's a little bit tricky also for the manager.
Yes, that is tricky. And and the other thing that I'm kind of realizing as I chat with people in my team, with women in my team, I think we also don't want a wedge between women who have children and women who don't have children. I mean, it's still about personal space, personal time.
Sure.
It's not just about having kids. It's just a different layer of different dynamics, different difficulties, but it doesn't mean that's the only reason why we need.
No, I fully agree with you. Yeah. So I personally don't have children, unfortunately, and but I know it's even without children, you have to do a lot of tasks and they have to support other things, or you have other hobbies or whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly. We shouldn't make it just about about kids either. I think that's sometimes a trap we find ourselves in. We have to be careful.
Yeah. So you talked about a couple of times about your team and your the people you are leading, and if we focus on your role today, and talking about your diverse team, and I saw in a picture which was published for the opening of the new technology center in Istanbul, that you involve women and women engineers in your teams. We talked about it. Can you tell us more about the environment you have created and why you think that you have been successful to recruit and retain women engineers?
So first of all, I think I would like to recognize that this is very much an environment and a team effort. So hopefully I have a share in having this this environment, but it's I really have a team who is very engaged and very conscious of what kind of culture we want. And we do have a pretty good, gender diversity at the site, pretty good for a technical organization, really around mechanical engineering, materials, and aeronautical engineering. So it's a pretty good number. But I think what is really important that is also maintaining that across different experience levels and bands, right? Because sometimes, you can see a very good number, if you just look at the numbers, very good number overall, but when you look at the higher in the ranks, it gets thinner and thinner. So I think it's very important to be able to sustain that as people grow in their careers. It's not just about the numbers, but also the balance in the organization. And I think what we do well, what I feel good about is we don't really focus on the number itself. I'm not a fan of measuring this with numbers. I don't think it's good for women to begin with. But, it's really important to have a very inclusive environment and being aware of what equity is, right? I mean, inclusion and equity, if you improve those things, I think it's very difficult to say you are good at it. I don't know if there's a there's a limit or a measurement to be good at it, because we all have biases, so it's a constant awareness and almost a fight with your biases. But if you continue improving inclusion and equity, then I think numbers and good diversity comes more naturally and in a more sustained way. And I think that's what we really are mindful of. We talk about these things. We talk about, inclusion and equity very openly. When we see something, when we see, a colleague who may not really kind of have the right wording on something, we call it out, we discuss, we feel comfortable discussing that. And the other thing that I really feel important is, we are in companies, we're in corporations, and we talk about talent, right? We talk about, who is ready for a certain role, what are the strengths, what are some of the, areas that this person has to develop. And when we do that, I think it's very important to use a language that's common for everyone, right? Like we have in GE Aerospace, we have what we call leadership behaviors. Those are well-defined, valid for everyone in the organization, that are linked to outcomes. So those are expectations from the company, and they are pretty neutral. So when we talk about talents, I think it's very important that we stick with those, right? We don't go with, oh, this person is shy. Oh, this person is so charismatic. No, those have no meaning in a business environment, right? Stick with what has been defined, objective, and gender neutral as much as it can be, because I think this drives our thoughts and our decisions if we are not careful. I think that's one thing I find is doable and important too.
Yeah, yeah. I do agree with you that the just forcing certain things may not work well, but if you provide a field where every seed can grow, then the diversity will come automatically, right? It's, yeah. And you were talking about GE in special and the leadership behavior, but if we go a little bit more general in the STEM direction, what do you think are some characteristics of effective leadership in the engineering and tech environment in Europe?
So I'm not entirely sure if it's purely for STEM, but I'll tell you something that
Yeah,
I really enjoy as a leader. So one, almost a disclaimer. I mean, given my role, I get to work with the more experienced people, right? More the leadership and experienced, and with people with lots of responsibilities. And big part of my job, again, working with my HR partner and with other people that I can consult. If I can put the right person, the best person in the role, then I think that's the biggest part of my job, because if we are able to do that, then by definition, this person is better than me, right?
yeah,
Because that person is the best person for the role. So
yeah,
that person has to be better than myself, which is a big relief, right? And I,
yeah,
I don't need to get into what this person is doing day to day. So my job becomes really fun, because I have a broader view of things, right? So I can help them, like removing some of the roadblocks. I can help them with a vision. This is where we need to go. I can look at, like, a little longer term for the site, and sometimes I get hung up on things, like I feel like, oh well, we really need to diversify this part of our scope. It's gonna take time, but so I can really lead the team on going after this type of strategic um, directions, if you will, or
yeah,
things that we would go after. Maybe we give up on things so we can get something else, work on something else that's going to be good for us in the longer run, and make things sustainable and keep engineers happy and motivated and engaged for the longer term. So uh, I think ultimately in STEM, and probably in many other fields, as leaders, right person in the right role, accepting, enjoying that this person is better than you, which is a
yeah, yeah,
wonderful, wonderful thing. Then you get to do other things that
yeah,
they
yeah,
can do
yeah,
their own stuff.
yeah,
And then it's a matter of, can you make sure they always have challenges where they continue to learn and grow? This becomes more the job itself.
yeah,
I explain it's really fun if if things were well. Then you have challenges. Of course, you have bumps and you get to resolve them. But you have a good team. It's all it all works out.
yeah, yeah. And, like I said, if you are passionate about solving problem and finding new ways, then it's good that it is how it is, right?
It is part of it's part of the fun of the job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so the official part of the interview comes to an end now, and I see that we have a question from Otske. She asked, has Aybike experienced any difficulty working in an environment that is a majority male, and how did she overcome such challenges? And if she can give some specific examples that women engineers commonly experience.
Um, well, I mean, I have been, I think, in a male-dominated environment since university. I mean, I studied at in aeronautical engineering department. Um, I think it was a small class, maybe 4 female out of 20 or something, which was much better than the mechanical engineering department, by the way. I mean, they had like 1% or something. Yeah. So aeronautical engineering ratio was much better than, some other departments, but still very much a
Yeah,
minority. Actually, it's funny. It was a very new department, very new a department at the university. So we were kind of like borrowing this building from civil engineering, and there is no women restroom in the building. So we, it was all male restroom. So we had to fight for our restroom. So we had to like go talk to professors for that.
Yeah.
In the work environment, I have always been, and I still am, in a male-dominated environment. I mean, sometimes it does feel a little lonely, especially if men go into topics that I have no interest in. But it can also have positive things. Like I was in sales for a while, and my customers were also very, very male dominated industry and area. But one positive thing that came out of it, everybody knew me. So if I didn't screw up, if I did a good job, everybody knew me. I didn't need to kind of like try to make myself known because,
Yeah.
it was pretty much like, like with my one or two women. So people would remember me and know me. And then one thing that I developed over time is, if someone was looking down saying, well, maybe you wouldn't understand this technical topic, right, in a meeting. Like, well, maybe my PhD would help. Why don't you give it a try and see if I understand?
Yeah.
Kind of making fun of, not in a negative way, but joke about it because it's so stupid. I mean, how could, male or female brain be any different in understanding these things? I mean, it's really his problem that he's still stuck at that age, right? It's not my problem; it's his problem. I feel sorry for him. So again, I know it's easy to say, more difficult to do. It does get demoralizing, but it's not on us. It's really on the people who don't get that it has nothing to do with gender. I mean, it's again, it's more I feel sorry for them than for myself.
Yeah, I do really agree with you. And when I studied in Germany mechanical engineering, I remember that I was this one female between male, And I remember that some colleagues came to me and they asked me if it doesn't bother me that I'm the only female. And like I said, my answer at the time was, but it's not my fault. Yeah. I couldn't understand, as coming from Romania to Germany, I didn't understand this cultural difference. And I couldn't comprehend why I should have a problem that there are no other females there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because it's, But in the meantime, we had another question from Shilpa. She says, as a firmware engineer, I spend most of the time developing and learning new coding skills, and it's a new language, a new processor controller every day. But also want to be in a leadership position, which is a whole other people management skill. With the way the work life is structured, it seems quite challenging for women in tech to evolve in demanding times, and any skills needs time to develop. How do some of the women leaders handle their day-to-day challenges?
First of all, in terms of like going from her role to a leadership, maybe one thing I'll share is when I took this role in engineering, I came from being a salesperson, an individual contributor, no one reporting to me, to this organization. Like I think we were about 150 people at the time, and that's how that was my first people leader experience. Yes, I made mistakes, but I think what helped me out really is, be humble, understanding, be aware of what I don't know. I never done this. I don't know how to do it. It's not like I'm a genius. I'll just figure it out. So I reached out to a lot of people, just ask questions, that just accept when I didn't know what to do, when I screwed up. I just admitted I went, kind of like shared very openly, very transparently what I didn't do well or what I didn't know what to do, and then just ask for help. I think people are, if you are humble and if you are open and really willing to learn, I find most of the people are naturally willing to help. And so I think we sometimes forget about that. In terms of balancing, I mean, again, I don't think there is really a magical solution on how to balance. I think we all find our way. What I find really important is ultimately um, I call it's optimizing, right?
Yeah.
You cannot have it all. You cannot spend all your hours with your kids and have a career. You have to figure out what's most important, what you are okay not to do. And then when you are with the kids, really be with the kids. But it's really, I think it's a myth that you can have it all. You cannot have it all. I think it would be, I think it's a relief to accept that you are not a superhero, you are not a super person, and that's okay. You are not going to have it all, but you are going to have what really matters to you. You may, I mean, you may not become a CEO necessarily, but you can still do something that you really, really enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see in the chat that Bianca is saying that to develop leader skills, you can also volunteer in organizations such as SWE, and then increase your visibility on top of your job responsibility, or make them like I do within John Deere. I made them part of my professional development. So I'm saying I want to learn public speaking, or I want to do this, and this is why I do something with SWE, and it's recognized to develop your more of the soft skills what are needed in leadership.
It is very true. Those are safe environments to really try things out.
Yeah, yeah. And we have also from Bianca a question saying, as a global leader who has worked in many places, have you found that some cultures are more challenging for women to be taken seriously as technical leaders?
I honestly, I think we have prejudices about certain cultures that they would be more difficult. I find it, I don't see a lot of differences between cultures,
Right.
but definitely a big difference between people, right? I mean,
Okay.
with some people, I feel very comfortable. I am totally myself, and I'm far more efficient, effective. And with some people, I don't feel comfortable, and I'm coming to realization that it's not about me. I mean, this person
Yeah.
probably has more prejudices than others about working with women, maybe, and this
Yeah.
person makes me feel not so comfortable and then not so fully myself than others. And my observation is not about country or culture, but it's about one person or the other person. And I think it's dangerous to assume it's based on countries. And sometimes, if you assume it's based on countries, it also gives an excuse to those countries to say, "Oh well, this is our culture." No, I don't accept that. I mean,
Yeah.
Turkey, we are a majority Muslim country. This doesn't give us any excuse for not being, as inclusive,
Yeah.
as equitable as we can be. We shouldn't be hiding
Yeah.
behind cultures and countries.
Yeah. Yeah. I do fully agree with you that um, we should not accept being put in a low position only because we are female. Yeah. Just the opposite to understand that when you become a leader or you are assigned a role in an organization, it's not a decision of a one person. It's a team who decides. It's the HR, the new manager, the old
Yes.
manager. Yeah. So if you do target interviews in your organization, probably there are, for you to get a certain position, probably there are 20 to 30 people involved, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and all these people are saying, you can do the job. Yeah. And then it's like, look, yes, I'm an engineer and I'm in this role, but I have an army of people behind me supporting me to do my good job. So get
And
over
then
it.
you can do the job your own way. I think that's
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
what we miss. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to do the job as the person you are replacing. You're going to have your own. That's one of the first things that one of my earliest managers had told me. You know, you are not the person that you replace. Don't try to
Yeah.
imitate how he did it. Find your own
Yeah.
way. I always, it always stayed with me, and that's why I
Yeah.
always expect from people. They shouldn't be imitating somebody else. Everybody has a different way of doing this, which is a very good thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I also believe, and I do not know how it's in GE or other companies, but sometimes you need in certain position at a certain time, different type of leaders. Okay. Sometimes you want somebody who drives change, and then you want somebody who is more of a continuous improvement path, or you want to bring the team together. So my experience is that every new role, it has also certain characteristics which
Yes,
are defined to move forward.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so to build up on your, don't do what the previous person did, because from you it's expected something different for sure.
And that's what inclusion is about, right? I mean, inclusion is not just about gender. It's very much about style. So if we look at it from a broader perspective, you have so many different characters and type of people in the organization, way more than just the gender itself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, thank you very much. And also thank you to our participants for asking the questions. And I understand that we could go now to a breakout room soon. And before that, I would like to, I think that somebody will place in the chat a survey monkey. Please do complete the formula and let us know what to do better next time, how to improve. And the idea in this chat rooms is that in the break rooms is that we quickly introduce ourselves to each other. So there are smaller rooms where we work and share your drivers to start or develop in the career in STEM, as we hear from Aybike, or what are your choices you make in life to be a happy person. And we will return at the end of the breakout discussion, about 15 minutes, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Anka.
Yeah, so thank you. So welcome everybody, and I hope that you had very nice conversation with the people in your breakout room. I had some very interesting discussion with Bianca and some other colleagues from GE, and yeah, so very nice chat. And I hope that you had also some good discussions, and feel free to share some takeaways with us in the chat, or I think, I don't know, do you want to share some learnings from the breakout room?
Well, it was, there was some discussion around, we still have, man being surprised when someone gets at the shop floor on an environment. And I guess my reflection is, why is it taking this long to really, understand that's something that's so basic? But I mean, at least we are making progress. I mean, I wish it was faster.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And before we wrap up, please fill in the survey, which was set up in the link. And if you want to learn more about the Society of Women Engineers in Europe, we do have a webpage. And we are present in LinkedIn, and please share and comment and make us visible. And also, I would like to announce that we are planning the first inspirational session of 2025 on Wednesday, the 15th of January. And we will look into the latest research on the gender gap in STEM. So please save the date, more info to come. And again, thank you everyone for joining us. And I'm looking forward to stay in touch with you and to learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much, Anka.